Good day, everybody. Welcome to this beautiful interview today for Women of Truth. We are showcasing a thought leader revolutionizing the future of women's health. Today, I'm joined by Catherine Molloy. She is a communication expert, an author, global speaker, trainer, coach, and conscious leadership expert. Also really looking at body language, how to be selling smarter. And really at the moment, she is the CEO of Ozpack Business Advantage, and that is also an international training service that she offers to people, AUSPAC in Australia. Welcome, Catherine. Lovely to have you with us today.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here too.
I'm so excited to share you with our audience because you've really just published a recent book, and you have one that you've published before as well, The Million Dollar Handshake, and I know now you're also writing on leadership. So we look forward to learning more about all this wonderful content that you're going to be offering people in your masterclass, where you're actually going to be showcasing your knowledge or expertise on how to really increase our mental wealth. And I think that's such a fantastic title. So before we get into all of that, we wanted to know a little bit more about you, who you really are, how you really stepped into your power as a leader in the world, and what fundamental changes you had in your life that actually brought you there. So my very first area of interest is to understand one of the life-changing events you had in your life and what it taught you. So if you can think about something you're willing to share with us, your audience, about a life-changing moment that Catherine Molloy went through and the kind of life lesson that it taught you.
Okay, so I've got one that I'd like to share because it was a major one that made me step into who I am today.
Yeah.
However, just going back, and like we've all had things happen to us, you know, I was orphaned, I was adopted. Unfortunately, the parents that adopted me died when I was around 16. And then, you know, I made my own way in life, had 3 children, and I left a career at that stage to have children, even though I met my husband and he said he couldn't have children because I said I didn't want to have any children. Then we had 3 in 4 years, and I do know what an amazing blessing they are. So I was very happy, of course, when I was had my first child. We ended up with 3. So, but what happened was when I was around 42, I woke up one day and my husband was on the bottom of the bed. And it was one of those moments in life, you know, I think we've all had them at some stage, experienced them through death and tragedy and crisis. And I looked at my husband, I just knew nothing was going to be the same. And he said to me, he couldn't go back into work. He just really felt like he could not go back to work. So obviously he had his breakdown. And I remember thinking we had 3 children at school. We had a business with 18 staff. John's not well, and all I could think of was, you know, I need to go in and run the office and, you know, see what needs to be done. And, you know, I said to my husband, will you be okay if we reverse roles? So of course, initially we spent a few days together. This was in the GFC. We'd come up with a plan if things got tough. You know, the business is a good business, had a great turnover. Even if we didn't have staff, we could run the rent roll. Unfortunately, John left our plan A and plan B and went to plan C, which was not going back into work. So that was a moment that, you know, I had to make a decision. And I went into his business and I started to find out what was happening, what was going on. I'd been away from business for around 10 years looking after children. And it was very interesting. It was a real estate business, and within 2 weeks, I was taking a real estate person around to show me all the properties we had. I sold 3 on one day, 5 in a week. It was a recession and it was a record for the office. So what I also, yeah.
So what did you learn, Catherine, in this time? What was the life-changing kind of light bulb?
So what I learned, and especially for all those women out there that might be at home looking after children or may have had a career before children, everything that we do, and even looking after children, we learn to organize, you know, we have to plan. There's so many skills that we have that, you know, I think people do things for 2 reasons. You know, one is through inspiration and one is through desperation. So for the audience, you know, don't wait for desperation, but, you know, if you can find something that inspires you today, is to believe in yourself. And, you know, when you believe in yourself, others believe in you too. And so all I did was use all the skills. You know, when I was 19, I learned body language, and I teach body language today. I love customers, and I teach customer service today. And I understand how important product knowledge is, because, you know, to have great product knowledge and you serve the customers well, sales follow. So anyway, the business was going great. I said to my husband, I want to keep it. We were 6 months into the recession, and he said he won't get better while we've got the business. He said we need to sell it. And that meant we had properties tied with the business, and it also means in a recession you don't get a good price. So we didn't get a good price for the houses, the units, and the real estate business. We lost well over $1 million, and then we were both out of jobs, and I still had 3 children at private school. I didn't want to have to change all their lives, and the banks didn't know at this stage that we weren't earning any money. So I just felt it was a time in my life that I could do what I wanted to do. I could, you know, go out. What does Catherine Molloy want to do for the rest of her life? And, you know, as I said before, I loved people. I love customer service. I love, you know, helping other people. And way back in the day in my corporate world, I used to train people in customer service and product knowledge for one of the big banks. So I took all these skills and I decided to open a training company, because everyone needs customer service, right? I truly believe that no matter what business you're in, everyone should have customer service training each year. You know, especially for service, because everyone can help your business grow. But the interesting thing is no one really wants customer service. What they wanted was leadership and management. So I quickly did some studies in that and the diploma. I started a training company, did my training and assessing. I think I put myself through 5 courses. So I would suggest that everyone just keeps, no matter what you're doing in life, keep studying. And I've continued to do that. I've done my strength coaching, my DISC accreditation. I'm just finishing my master's in leadership now at university. So, you know, just keep studying, keep learning, because you never know the next step you're going to take. So that's what I learned, because I had to jump in, use all my skills, and then I had to relearn and learn a lot more very, very quickly. And I was on the right path, because when I was doing training and assessing with a group of people, they used to come back to my house. They wouldn't go and see the trainer. They'd come to my place for me to help them get through the course. Now, I wasn't running that course. I was learning. So I knew I was in the right field doing training and education. And so from there,
so many moments of growth I hear in your story, that you had, you know, really this great success going back into the business, and now losing the business, and then all these new skills that you were beginning to apply again. So really lots of pearls of wisdom there. And I think that really essential life learning you said before was that really needing to believe in oneself, and that sometimes you have to kind of keep learning skills so you can get back out there. And as a small child, Catherine, about 8 years old, what kind of advice would you give that little girl from your older, wiser self that you are today? From all that experience and all that change of life and struggle that you went through in the marriage, and all that you've accomplished since then.
She was a brilliant little girl. She was fun, she was positive, and every Monday and Tuesday, the kids in the neighborhood used to come and sit in her bedroom. And I was lucky enough to have been given this little felt board and a flip chart. And so I used to write down the top 10 songs of the week on a Sunday night, and I'd write them up on the board. We'll all learn them, and then we'd go and ride on our bikes. So she was on the right track. She was actually training people her own age, which is what I ended up doing. So I didn't go into being a teacher, and I didn't really ever want to teach at a school, but I love working with peers. I love training and education, because every day I learn something new. You know, I work with politicians, I work with CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. You know, it's incredible the strength and knowledge and that I get to then be able to take those skills and share them, you know, with other people as well. So it feels like that little 8-year-old girl knew exactly what she was doing. It just took me another, 40 years to get there.
Yeah, so you would encourage her to carry on? What kind of words would you say to her?
Just whatever you do, have fun doing it.
Beautiful.
If you were doing something that you don't like doing, you've only got one life. So I think it's really important to, we've all got these strengths. And I think if we all think back to our little girl, when I go up on stage, in 2019, I had 150 stages, over 80 flights around the world. And when I go up to music, and they introduce me, as something like, international speaker, traveler, and dancer. And I come up dancing. And as a little girl, all I ever did was dance and run and play. And I rode horses. And today I own a horse again, and I ride a horse every week. I ride twice a week. So all these things, remember the things that you love as a child, because they're still going to be the things you love when you get old.
Beautiful.
Putting your feet in the grass and
yeah. And now a really important question for the book, which is really what we're going to be showcasing to everybody around the world, listening to over 100 women now answer this question. I'm really keen to hear your response. What do you think, Catherine, after all the years of listening to yourself and knowing more about your journey now, I imagine you've had many moments really having to work on yourself to understand at a deeper level what's really important. And you've been speaking a few times about the kind of advice you would give women. When you've traveled your journey in life, I'm sure you've also thought a little bit about other women as well. So what do you think is the biggest lie women believe? And what do you think is the truth?
What's the biggest lie women believe?
Yeah. And what do you think is the truth?
You made me think straight away about we're all being told this is an inch. No, just kidding. Okay, so what is the biggest? Well, once again, I can't speak for everyone, but I think we really need to understand that everyone lies. And, a lot of times people look you in the face and they will lie to you. So, and just remember, you probably do it too.
Right.
So I guess that was one of the biggest things. I always thought people told the truth, but they don't.
Right. So when you look at women and you look at how we might be doing that ourselves and others are doing that too, do you think that that's something that we get deceived by, that we think everybody's telling the truth, or we think that everybody's really honest, but somehow that really can deceive us, and somehow the truth is that people are not always telling the truth?
I just think don't get caught up in it. Ask the people, and if they tend to do that lie, go within your gut feeling. It's easy for me, being a body language expert and working with behaviors for a lot, that, my poor children have the secret service. So I only really work on the big ones, and I let those little ones slide. But I truly believe that the truth will set you free. And if you get used to telling yourself too many lies and telling other people too many lies, that really starts to affect your mental health. If you say, oh no, I don't eat this, or I don't do this, or I walk 5 times a week, and you're not doing that, the only person you're hurting is yourself. So I think it's really, really important to be absolutely truthful to yourself if you want to have good mental health, which of course creates that great mental wealth.
Fabulous. Wow. What a unique and original answer to that question. So interesting. So this kind of way that we kind of collude with this part of us to look better, or to try and present ourselves a certain way, or maybe forget to really be very, very honest with ourselves, can really erode our mental health. And I know that's your masterclass, so I look forward to hearing more about that. But it's quite interesting to consider that this is such a part of human behavior, that we are always so ready to kind of skew the truth a little bit. And this is what's so great about hearing that answer. So, there's so many women's movements around the world now. I know I've met you at one of them. I've seen you involved in many different projects related to women. So I think very many groups like this in your part of the world, as I'm sure you've seen there are in many parts of the world around too. So what do you think about this whole women's movement? And is there anything you would add or subtract or anything you'd say about this women's movement right now? What are your feelings about it?
Look, as a mum, of course, we love our sons and we want them to have this great world that they can be strong and shine in as well. But what a lot of people don't understand is, you know, even in my age group, there wouldn't be many women that hadn't been abused in Australia by a man, whether it's verbally or physically. You know, it just seemed to be rite of passage growing up that the man could almost do and say whatever they wanted. I remember walking out of a doctor's office when the doctor patted me on the bottom as I walked out. I nearly had a heart attack because I just had one of those horrible tests.
What?
And, yeah, and I was 19. So, you know, it happens to everyone. And unfortunately, you know, I know a lot of women in India, it seems to be, once again, a right of a man that he can do this and the woman can't do anything about it, and everyone ignores it, and because it happened to them as well. And I think that's what happened with women. This is what happens to us, so we all kind of ignore it, and then it keeps going. And I know how much with my daughter, of course, I let her go and do things, but also I always made sure she wasn't at home with, you know, with any of the boys or the boys' friends as they got older, because I remember, you know, when my brother's friends came over, I'd go out, otherwise I would be harassed. And this happens everywhere, and men don't understand how bad that is being a woman. And they don't get the Me Too because they were part of it and they don't want to understand it. The Australian government right now is just going through the ringer because women are saying, this happened to us. You wanted to climb the ranks. It was almost part of their rights to be able to do this to you, to touch you, or to get you drunk or whatever it might be, you know. So I think it's very important that we just say, no, it's time. Maybe we all have to do the no deal, you know. We have a right on this planet. We're intelligent. And you know what? When everything else goes wrong, women stand up, don't they? They don't stop fighting. We don't stop fighting for our children. We don't stop fighting for our husbands. We don't stop fighting for our life. And but we have allowed things to happen to us that shouldn't happen to us. And it's great for our boys in this generation to respect females. And in Uganda, where I work, as part of projects with Batoto, you know, we found villages that there were no men in. They go through and, you know, a woman might have 4 children. She'll end up with AIDS, cervical cancer, can't get the tablets because it's too far to get the tablets for the AIDS. And then the next generation does it, and the next generation. So I've created a program that I'm hoping within 4 generations that there will be respect. The boys will respect the girls and the girls will respect themselves enough, because that little bit of bread doesn't last. That rag that they're given, it will fall off. So, you know, we've got to make changes and understand our worth. You know, no one can take your value away, no matter what happens to you or has happened to you. So, because you can't be replaced on this planet.
Thank you.
And I'm very passionate. Yeah, I feel very passionate about it. It is time for it to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're in a time where we have this great privilege, I think, as female leaders to help lead the way and really do the kind of lobbying and drive awareness to a lot of these subjects so that we can protect women in the future, so that we don't have this as just another thing that happens, that it's kind of normalized like it's been so long. I appreciate so much you say about how it's so normalized, you know, even that image of a doctor kind of patting you on the bottom as you leave his office. I mean, that's pretty strange when you hear it said in isolation, but also very common happening, the way women are treated. So we move now to this important question about you and your work. What are you most passionate about now in your work, Catherine? And what can people look forward to when they follow you or engage with you and your content?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things, so many strings to the bow when it comes to soft skills and education. I work with emotional intelligence, I work with teams, I work with body language. But the big thing, my latest book is called The Conscious Leader. And you can probably see it in the background, it's the orange one. I can't give you the link yet, it's going to be released in 2 weeks' time. But we've been doing workshops, we've been doing talks over the last 2 years around this. And I'm glad that I didn't release it before COVID, because it just gave us an extra crisis to go through to start to really understand the leaders that shine. And, every crisis, different skills are needed, but that being really conscious, being really mindful with each project, each crisis, what you need in work and life makes the biggest difference. Because you know what? Our minds don't stop thinking, and they think thousands upon thousands of thoughts a day. But 90% of those thoughts are the same as yesterday. And these are the thoughts that drive our decisions, drive our behaviors, and even drive our values. So you really don't want to be using 90% of those old thoughts to be doing that. We need to be more conscious in the present, in the moment, being more mindful. Who are we speaking to? What is the context? How am I feeling now? What is the outcome from this meeting I'm about to have? What is it that we need? What can we do for the planet? How can our business help? So, the conscious leader for me, it's fantastic. The first chapter is all around leadership. So you'll discover your strengths, how you lead. But I've also gone through and put about 16 different styles in there. The charismatic, the laissez-faire, all the different styles you hear about, and putting the strengths and weaknesses in. So you can go, oh, wow, I love this, don't like that, or guess what, I do that. So you can start to build your toolkit of what you love in a leader. And I always ask people, what are the 3 things that you admire most in a leader? They write them down, and then they tell me, and I go, I bet that's what you do. And then they're like, oh, I do. So it's really finding those top strengths out as well. And then we move into the new seals, which we're creating around the world. So far, we've created over 1,500, and that's conscious, emotionally intelligent leaders. And then from there, we move into leading with purpose, which we'll be touching on a bit in our masterclass. And then we go into language for leaders, one of my favorites. That language through our body, through our mind, through our words, through the written. What is that language that we're using? So interesting, and how quickly you can change it, change your language and change your life. And from there, we move into teams, how to lead teams, and we go through some great case studies with some amazing team leaders that have given us stories. And then we move into my last chapter, which is conscious currency. It's not all about money, but what is that legacy that you're leaving? What are those things that you're doing that people are following? What are your micros? And a lot of those might even be in the family. And what are your macro legacies? So that's the conscious leader, and I'm so excited to get it into the world. Our last book, The Million Dollar Handshake, I think it's traveled around the world. It was made Business Book of the Year in UK by Orion. It's been bought by 4 publishers worldwide so far, translated in traditional Chinese, Taiwanese, Vietnam's bought it. It's just been released in America and Canada by Amazon. So, getting around the world, and sold out in India in 3 months. And so it's on its 2nd print there too.
Wow, congratulations. That's lovely. Very, very nice that you actually waited till after COVID to actually make it so relevant for the times that we're in. We wish you the greatest success with that. And we look so forward to this masterclass you're going to teach us, Catherine, on really some of the fundamentals around mental wealth. And I love that title that we had for it. So tell us now your 3 power words. This is a tradition. It's become like a ritual in Women of Truth interviews. Through all the research we've done, we've asked all our experts to give us 3 words. Either they're connected or they're separate. they capture your wisdom, and they give everybody a chance to really listen again to you and what you've learned in your life and what you think is most important. What would your 3 words be?
Well, these are fairly simple words, and I'm sorry, it kind of sprung on me, and the first thing that popped in was lead, love, and laugh.
Beautiful. So really all of us have something to lead in our lives, isn't it? We all are like every day needing to make decisions. So I think that's such a powerful word for us to keep in mind, how to lead and to feel that accountability, and then how to love, really be conscious of the fact that you are there loving in the world, and then laugh, very, very important. Any explanation on why you chose those 3?
Yes, because they're the first 3 that popped into my head. And because I've been working on leadership and conscious leadership, that it's really important to lead yourself each day, to lead yourself well, to lead yourself positively. And it's so strong for our mental health, which I always say creates that mental wealth. And then love. I think, when you're dying, the thing that you'd probably be thinking is, I love enough? Was I loved? And sometimes, maybe love is all there is. And I remember my natural mother when I met her, and she said, "Oh, love is just a throwaway word. You love that car and then you don't care about it in a couple of months." And I said to her, well, maybe it's different for different people, but, I just feel that, we are love. And I think we need to love each other more than we do, and to understand the value in each person. And I said, it's okay to disagree. It was interesting. The next day she rang me and she said, "Kath, I was thinking about it. And she said, you're right." She said, "I never felt my dad loved me enough. And I don't think I've loved enough." And I said, "Well, you're never too old to start." But the thing I also understand is people can really love each other, but not be so nice to each other. So kindness is also, for me, wrapped up in that word love. To think of being kind can make a big difference in the world. And the last one, of course, is laugh, because every day it's the most important thing. If you don't laugh, then you're not having fun. If you don't find something to laugh at, or, I can just walk out in the paddock and see one of the animals doing something silly, and it makes you, laugh. It's finding joy in moments. And, terrible things are happening everywhere, but we've still got to find ways to laugh at ourselves and to let others laugh too. Usually I'll tell a joke about myself to get people laughing, because then they relax, and then they can start to enjoy themselves a bit more too.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, everybody. Those are the 3 words from Catherine Molloy. You need to catch her masterclass. That's going to be showed on a Monday night, Central Eastern Time, 7 p.m. You can check out Eventbrite to find out exactly when. And you know that you have a much deeper dive into Catherine's wisdom. As you heard, there's body language, there's communication, there's leadership, but also really an important message here that everybody has this role of leadership in their lives. So now you're going to hear more about it from Catherine. Thank you so much. Really great 3 power words: lead, love, and laugh. So much valuable content also around what we need to be doing, and how we are in a time now where we really do need to start being conscious of our leadership, but also saying no, and really being aware that we have what it takes to make great change. Thanks so much, Catherine, for being with us, and goodbye, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
Thank you.